For more than a century, the .38 Special has occupied a strange position in the firearms world. Some shooters dismiss it as outdated, a cartridge that belongs to another era of revolvers and old police holsters. Others argue that it simply isn't powerful enough to compete with modern defensive rounds. In today's market, dominated by high-capacity 9mm pistols, red dot optics, and a constant stream of new tactical cartridges, the .38 Special is often treated like a relic from the past. But here's the surprising truth that rarely gets mentioned. Despite all the technological changes in firearms over the last few decades, the .38 Special never actually disappeared. Millions of people still rely on it every day. Experienced gun owners continue to carry it. Concealed carriers trust compact revolvers chambered in it. Even firearms instructors still recommend it for certain shooters. That raises an interesting question. If the cartridge is supposedly outdated and underpowered, why do so many knowledgeable shooters continue to trust it? The answer reveals something important about practicality, reliability, and the difference between what looks impressive on paper and what actually works in the real world. To really understand the .38 Special, we have to go back more than a century to the year 1898. That's when Smith & Wesson introduced the cartridge as an improvement over earlier revolver rounds that were already in use at the time. Compared with those older cartridges, the .38 Special delivered better velocity, deeper penetration, and more consistent overall performance. Those improvements quickly caught the attention of law enforcement agencies and civilian shooters alike. Over the following decades, the cartridge began spreading rapidly across the United States. Police departments adopted .38 Special revolvers as their standard service weapons, and detectives relied on them during an era when reliability mattered more than capacity. Security personnel carried them, and countless civilians trusted the cartridge for personal protection in their homes and businesses. For much of the 20th century, the .38 Special became one of the most recognizable handgun cartridges in the world. If someone carried a revolver during that time, there was a very good chance it was chambered in .38 Special. That kind of widespread trust doesn't happen by accident. It happens because, generation after generation, the cartridge simply worked. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, the firearms world began to change dramatically. Law enforcement agencies started moving away from traditional revolvers and toward semi-automatic pistols. These newer handguns offered larger magazine capacities, faster reloads, and a different approach to defensive shooting. Cartridges like the 9mm quickly rose to dominance, both in police departments and in the civilian market. As this shift happened, the revolver, once the symbol of the American sidearm, began to look old-fashioned. Capacity became a major selling point, and the ability to carry 15 or more rounds in a pistol suddenly seemed far more attractive than a 6-shot revolver. Because of that change, the .38 Special gradually moved out of the spotlight. It wasn't being talked about as much, and it wasn't driving the latest trends in the firearms industry. But there's an important detail that often gets overlooked. Just because a cartridge stops being fashionable doesn't mean it suddenly stopped being effective. One of the most common criticisms aimed at the .38 Special has always been its power. When people compare it to modern defensive cartridges, the numbers on paper don't seem particularly impressive. Velocity is lower than many newer handgun rounds, and the overall energy figures often look modest when placed next to cartridges like the 9mm or the .357 Magnum. On a ballistic chart, the .38 Special rarely stands out as the most powerful option, but real-world defensive performance isn't determined by numbers alone. Ballistic charts can tell part of the story, but they don't show how a cartridge behaves in the hands of the shooter. In practical defensive situations, effectiveness usually comes down to three critical factors: accuracy, control, and reliability. A cartridge that allows a shooter to place shots precisely, maintain control during recoil, and depend on consistent performance can be far more effective than one that simply produces higher numbers on paper. And in those key areas, the 38 Special continues to perform remarkably well. One of the most underrated advantages of the 38 Special is how manageable it is to shoot. Compared with many modern defensive handgun cartridges, the recoil of the 38 Special is relatively mild. At first glance, that may not sound impressive, especially in a market where more power is often marketed as better. But recoil control plays a critical role in real shooting performance. When recoil is manageable, shooters remain more relaxed behind the gun. They can focus on proper trigger control, maintain better sight alignment, and recover their sight picture much faster after each shot. For new shooters, this can make learning far less intimidating and significantly improve confidence during training. For experienced shooters, the benefit appears in faster and more consistent follow-up shots. In real defensive situations, the ability to place accurate shots quickly is far more important than simply producing higher energy numbers on a ballistic chart, and in that regard, the .38 Special continues to offer a practical advantage that many shooters still appreciate today. Another key part of the 38 Special story is the platform it is most commonly paired with: the revolver. Revolvers operate very differently from semi-automatic pistols, and that difference is a major reason why many shooters continue to trust them. Unlike semi-automatic handguns, revolvers do not rely on detachable magazines or the movement of a slide to chamber the next round. Their operation is mechanically straightforward. When the trigger is pressed, the cylinder rotates, a fresh round lines up with the barrel, and the firearm discharges. That simplicity removes several potential failure points that can occur in more complex systems. Because of this design, revolvers have a long-standing reputation for reliability. A revolver chambered in .38 Special can remain loaded and stored for extended periods, and when it is needed, it is generally ready to function immediately. For many gun owners, especially those who prioritize dependability and simplicity, that kind of straightforward reliability is extremely reassuring. There is another reason many firearms instructors continue to recommend the .38 Special, and that reason is training. Because the recoil is manageable and the revolver platform is mechanically straightforward, shooters are able to focus on the fundamentals that truly matter. Instead of fighting recoil or dealing with complicated controls, students can concentrate on building the core skills of shooting. That includes proper sight alignment, consistent trigger control, a stable grip, and clean follow-through after each shot. These basic elements form the foundation of accurate shooting with any firearm. In fact, many instructors intentionally begin new shooters on a .38 Special revolver because the platform encourages discipline and good habits from the very beginning. There are no shortcuts and very few distractions. Every shot requires careful trigger control and attention to detail. Once those fundamentals are learned, the skills transfer naturally to other handguns, rifles, and defensive firearms later on. Another important reason the .38 Special continues to remain relevant today is the evolution of modern ammunition technology. While the cartridge itself has existed for more than a century, the bullets used in today's defensive loads are dramatically more advanced than those available decades ago. Early ammunition often struggled with inconsistent expansion or limited penetration. Modern engineering has changed that completely. Today's defensive hollow points are carefully designed to expand reliably at the lower velocities typical of the .38 Special, while still penetrating deeply enough to remain effective. Manufacturers test and refine these bullets specifically for the performance characteristics of this cartridge. As a result, modern .38 Special defensive loads perform far better than many people expect. So even though the cartridge dates back to the 19th century, the technology inside the bullet has continued to evolve, allowing the .38 Special to remain a practical and capable option in the modern shooting world. Another reason the .38 Special continues to hold its place in the modern firearms world is its strong role in concealed carry. Many compact revolvers chambered in .38 Special are specifically designed to be small, lightweight, and easy to carry throughout the day. These firearms are often slim enough to fit comfortably in a pocket holster, an inside the waistband holster, or even a small bag. That level of portability makes them appealing to people who carry a firearm as part of their daily routine. Just as important, the revolver platform remains very straightforward to operate. In stressful situations, there are no external safeties to manipulate and no slide to rack. The shooter simply aims and presses the trigger. For many carriers, that simplicity provides peace of mind. Ultimately, convenience plays a major role in concealed carry. A firearm that is comfortable and easy to carry is far more likely to be carried consistently, and a firearm that is actually carried is far more useful than one left at home. So here's the surprising truth that many experts don't emphasize enough when discussing defensive cartridges. The .38 Special did not remain popular for more than a century because it produces the highest velocity or the most energy on a ballistic chart. In reality, its continued relevance comes from something much simpler: practicality. The cartridge is controllable for a wide range of shooters, making it easier to train with and easier to shoot accurately. It is reliable when paired with the revolver platform that has proven dependable for generations. And perhaps most importantly, it is easy to learn. New shooters can quickly become comfortable with it, while experienced shooters appreciate its consistency and predictability. In real-world situations, those practical qualities often matter far more than raw ballistic numbers. That is the reason the .38 Special has endured for over 100 years, not because it is flashy or modern, but because it continues to do exactly what it was designed to do. In the end, the .38 Special may never dominate ballistic charts or generate excitement the way newer tactical cartridges do. It doesn't rely on extreme velocity, massive energy numbers, or modern marketing trends. Instead, its story is built on something far more important: long-term reliability and practical effectiveness. For more than 100 years, the cartridge has proven that a firearm does not need to be the most powerful option available in order to be dependable and useful. Generations of shooters have trusted it because it offers a balance of simplicity, manageable recoil, and consistent performance. That is why the .38 Special continues to remain relevant even in a modern firearms landscape filled with new designs. Sometimes the most impressive technology is not the newest invention, but the one that quietly proves its value year after year. Before we wrap up, I'd like to hear about your experience. Do you own a revolver chambered in .38 Special? And if you do you still rely on it for personal defense, concealed carry, or simply range practice? Many shooters have strong opinions about this cartridge, and your perspective might help others decide whether the .38 Special still deserves a place in the modern firearms world. Take a moment to share your thoughts down in the comments, and let us know how you use it. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue creating in-depth firearm discussions and cartridge analysis. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.